Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're exploring something really fundamental at the crossroads of philosophy and AI.
Intentionality.
Exactly, intentionality in AI. We're going to unpack the ideas in this paper. Intentionality in AI, a Sophimatic perspective by Gerardo and Giovanni Iavon.
It's a core topic.
It really is. Like, what does it actually mean for an AI to, understand something or to intend to do something?
Yeah.
Is it just following code?
Or is there something more?
Right. Is genuine intentionality maybe the missing piece for truly intelligent AI? Let's dig in.
Definitely. Intentionality is, well, it's arguably one of the trickiest but most interesting philosophical bits relevant to AI.
Why is that?
Because it forces us to ask, can these computational systems, these machines, ever genuinely possess that quality of being about something? That directedness towards the world?
Or are they just really, really good mimics?
That's the heart of the debate we'll be exploring, the simulation versus the real deal.
Okay, so let's start with the big hurdle. The source material points to a potential, a major flaw in current AI regarding true intentionality. First off, what is intentionality in this AI context?
Okay, so fundamentally, intentionality is about aboutness. It means a state of mind or maybe a system state is directed at something. It's about an object or a situation out there in the world.
Like my thought about coffee is directed at the actual coffee.
Precisely. Now, philosophers, John Searle notably back in 1980, argued pretty strongly that purely formal systems like computer programs can't achieve this genuine intentionality.
Why not? They process information, right?
Yes, but Searle's point was that they only manipulate symbols based on rule syntax without grasping the meaning, the semantics. He famously said, formal programs have no causal powers of their own.
Meaning they don't cause understanding?
Exactly. They don't have the inherent power to produce genuine understanding or consciousness just by running the program. They're shuffling symbols without knowing what they represent. And this points to what some see as a fundamental weakness in, say, purely computational generative AI. They operate, maybe impressively, but without that underlying grasp or true intention.
Which naturally leads us to, the classic thought experiment here.
Yeah, yes.
The Chinese room. It really gets to the heart of this as-if intentionality idea, doesn't it? Can you walk us through that?
Sure. Searle imagined a person, let's say they only speak English, locked inside a room. They get slips of paper pushed under the door with Chinese characters on them.
Okay, and they don't understand Chinese at all.
Not a word. But inside the room, they have this huge rule book written in English that tells them exactly which Chinese symbols to send back out in response to the ones they receive.
So input symbols, follow English rules, output symbol.
Right. Now, from outside the room, someone who does understand Chinese might see questions going in and perfectly coherent answers coming out. It looks like the room understands Chinese.
But the person inside?
The person inside is just manipulating symbols according to rules. They have zero understanding of the conversation. They don't know what the questions mean or what their answers mean.
So the system, the room plus the person plus the rules, acts as if it understands Chinese.
Precisely. That's the core of as-if intentionality. It behaves like it has understanding, but the actual intentional state, the comprehension, isn't there.
And the connection to current AI is?
Well, the argument is that many complex AI systems, especially some generative models, might be operating like that Chinese room. They process vast data, follow complex rules or patterns, and produce outputs that seem intentional or understanding.
Oh, underneath?
Underneath, it might still be just symbol manipulation, lacking that genuine aboutness or intention. And this as-if nature, the argument goes, is partly why they can struggle in really novel or ambiguous situations. They don't have the intention to adapt in the way a truly understanding system might.
Okay, so if current AI is stuck in this as-if mode, this kind of imitation game, how do we get beyond it? Is there a way to build AI that has, more genuine intentionality?
This is where the Sophimatics paradigm, mentioned in our source, comes into play. It's proposed as a way to try and move past just simulating intentionality. The core idea is to actually embed the structural elements of intentionality into the AI's design right from the start. Instead of just hoping intentionality emerges, you try to build its foundations in.
So not just pattern matching, but building the capacity for reference, meaning.
Exactly. Aiming for generative AI systems that can perform context-sensitive, meaningful reasoning, because the mechanisms for that reasoning are part of their architecture. It's about engineering for insight, not just output.
But how do you formalize something like intentions? Feels so subjective.
That's a great point. And Bosty, another thinker mentioned, makes a helpful distinction here. He separates the subjective parts of intentionality like conscious experience, self-awareness, that first-person feeling.
Stuff that's maybe impossible to model scientifically right now.
Right. He argues that's perhaps beyond formal modeling. But, he says, there are objective dimensions of intentionality that we can potentially formalize.
Like what?
Things like reference, how does the system connect a symbol or internal state to something specific in the world? Truth, can the system evaluate if its representations align with reality? And the content of the intentional act, what specific information is being represented?
Ah, okay. So things we can actually define and potentially measure or build into a system?
Precisely. And focusing on these objective dimensions, according to the source, has led to formalizations in AI development, systems that can, for instance, dynamically create those reference relations.
Dynamically, meaning not fixed.
Meaning they can figure out references in real time based on context, like understanding that it refers to the ball in one sentence and the weather in the next, or implementing logical operators, determining truth values on the fly.
And embedding this kind of objective intentionality within the Sophimatics framework allows for what?
It allows for building AI that's more contextually grounded. It moves beyond simple reactive behavior. Take natural language, for example.
Yeah.
An AI using these principles could potentially identify pronoun references dynamically or grasp meanings implied by the author, but not explicitly stated, because it's actively constructing the reference and meaning based on the context.
That sounds much closer to actual understanding.
It's a step in that direction, aiming for systems that reason within a context, not just process symbols devoid of it.
So Sophimatic provides a kind of philosophical and architectural blueprint. What about the specific tools or methods? How are researchers actually trying to formalize intention in code? I know shared intentionality comes up.
Right. Shared intentionality, understanding others' intentions, coordinating goals, that's another layer, involving complex modeling and communication. But yes, formalizing even basic intention is tough, partly because, as we said, philosophers themselves differ on its exact nature.
But there are approaches being tried.
Oh, yes. Think about reinforcement learning, RL. It's powerful for teaching AI to achieve goals, like winning a game.
Maximize reward.
Exactly. But standard RL often fails to account for intention modeling. It finds the best actions for an outcome, but doesn't necessarily represent or understand the underlying intention, human or otherwise. It's about the what, not the why.
Okay.
Now, contrast that with something called inverse reinforcement learning, or IRL.
Inverse, so working backward.
Kind of. IRL tries to infer the intention or reward function from observed behavior. So if it watches an expert perform a task, it tries to figure out the underlying goal or intention the expert was pursuing.
Ah, so it learns the why from the what.
Exactly. And that gives you an explicit way to model intentions. The source highlights that IRL enables AI not just to pick actions to fulfill these learned intentions, but also potentially to choose actions that are transparent and understandable to humans.
Which is huge for collaboration, right? If we can understand why the AI is doing something.
Absolutely crucial. It aligns perfectly with that Sophimatic's goal of AI working with and alongside us, not just as a black box tool.
Are there other strategies besides IRL for getting intention into AI?
Yes, the sources mention a few others. Chen in 2019 discussed several, for instance, probabilistic formalisms.
Like Bayesian networks?
Yes, things like that. They can be used to infer intentions based on observed actions, even if the observations are incomplete or noisy. Sort of like making an educated guess about someone's goal based on what you see them doing.
Makes sense.
Then there's imitation learning. This is a bit like IRL, but focuses more on encoding expert goals by observing how experts act, analyzing those actions to figure out the right sequences for specific intentions.
Where would that be useful?
Think complex environments where you can't just optimize a simple reward. Maybe complex social interactions or tasks requiring nuanced judgment learned from human examples. It learns intent by watching.
Okay, so inference, imitation, any others?
One more key one is hierarchical reinforcement learning, or HRL.
Hierarchical, like nested goals.
Exactly. HRL breaks down a big, high-level goal into smaller sub-goals and sub-behaviors. This allows for handling really complex, multi-layered intentions where you need different strategies depending on the context or the stage of the task.
So we've got IRL, Bayesian methods, imitation learning, HRL. Quite a toolkit. What's the common thread here? Why the push for these more complex formalisms? Is it just that simple stimulus response isn't enough?
That's really the core insight. These formalizations highlight that AI built purely on associating actions with sensory inputs is inadequate for deeper understanding and adaptation.
It hits a wall.
It does. To get further, you need representation formalisms that combine both symbolic reasoning, manipulating concepts, and inference mechanisms, drawing conclusions, figuring things out.
And this lets the AI be more contextual.
Yes, to build AI that can actually adapt its understanding, its reference relations to different environments, different tasks, maybe even different societal needs. It's about moving from fixed responses to flexible reasoning.
Which seems to loop us right back to where we started, the importance of philosophy in all this.
Absolutely. You can't build truly intelligent systems without tackling these deep philosophical questions head on.
Like, what is knowledge?
Exactly. Or how are intentions formed? We have to grapple with these questions to design AI representations and mechanisms that can actually handle things like dynamic goal selection or assigning meaning in real time as the situation changes.
It sounds incredibly difficult.
It is. There are huge challenges. But the point is, philosophy isn't just navel-gazing here. It's a critical tool for actually developing and refining cognitive AI, for figuring out what we're trying to build.
And Sophimatics, then, is presented as one attempt to use those philosophical insights to guide the engineering, to embed formal structures for reference, for context, for inference.
Precisely. Aiming ultimately for AI capable of more reflective, maybe even collaborative reasoning, not just doing tasks, but understanding why and adapting appropriately.
So wrapping this up, we've journeyed from the limitations of as-if intentionality, Searle's Chinese room, showing how systems can look smart without understanding, all the way to these sophisticated attempts like Sophimatics, IRL, HRL.
All trying to bridge that gap, to engineer something closer to genuine understanding and intention.
It really underscores that the future AI isn't solely about bigger data sets or faster processing, is it?
No, I think the key takeaway has to be that building truly intelligent, collaborative AI is fundamentally intertwined with grappling with these philosophical concepts. Understanding intentionality isn't just a nice-to-have, it might be essential.
It definitely makes you look differently at the AI you interact with every day, doesn't it? You start asking, does this chatbot, this recommendation engine, does it really get what I want, or is it just playing a sophisticated as-if game?
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. As these increasingly capable AI systems become more woven into our society, our work, our lives, how might our own understanding of what intention means need to evolve?
Not just for the AI, but for us, in how we think about human-machine partnerships.
Exactly. What does intention look like in a hybrid team? It's a question we'll likely be wrestling with for a long time.
Something to definitely keep thinking about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope it sparks some questions for you to explore further.